The cause of death was listed as smoke inhalation due to a residential fire. The medical examiner disagreed, noting that the presence of incendiary devices indicated an intentional act rather than an accidental conflagration. Upon initial examination at the scene, the postmortem interval was estimated at 12 hours based on rigor mortis and lividity patterns. However, further forensic analysis revealed discrepancies, suggesting this estimate was incorrect. Examination of the deceased's body showed evidence of rapid-onset thermal trauma, consistent with exposure to an incendiary device rather than a prolonged smoke inhalation event. The presence of accelerants and burn patterns specific to explosive materials confirmed that devices identified as incendiary were indeed present at the time of death, leading to a revision of the cause of death from accidental fire-related injury to homicide by means of an incendiary device. Examination of the deceased's body showed evidence of rapid-onset thermal trauma consistent with exposure to an incendiary device rather than a prolonged smoke inhalation event. Chapter: Case Background. The incident under examination occurred on March 14th at a single-family residence in suburban Springfield. At approximately 3:45 a.m., emergency services received an alarm from a local fire station reporting a structure fire at the address. Upon arrival, firefighters observed heavy smoke emanating from the second floor of the house, and multiple windows shattered due to the intense heat. The initial assumption was that the blaze had originated from an electrical malfunction or a spontaneous ignition within the home's living quarters. Local police were notified shortly after, and upon securing the perimeter, they discovered evidence of forced entry near the rear door, suggesting potential foul play. As firefighters worked to contain the flames, the deceased was found in the master bedroom, indicating that the individual had likely perished from smoke inhalation prior to the fire's full eruption. The initial investigation focused on ruling out accidental causes, such as a gas leak or faulty wiring, before considering alternative scenarios involving arson. The presence of an incendiary device was not immediately apparent and only became evident during subsequent forensic examination of the debris field. Chapter: Initial findings upon arrival at the scene. First responders noted a structure engulfed in flames with heavy smoke emission. The deceased was found centrally positioned within the room of origin, demonstrating no active signs of life upon contact. Immediate medical assessment indicated extensive thermal injuries and singe marks across the body surface. However, the absence of traumatic injuries suggested the primary cause to be environmental factors rather than physical assault. The scene's condition revealed a significant fire originating from multiple points within the room, indicative of an accelerant use. Initial observations identified potential incendiary devices scattered throughout the vicinity of the deceased's remains. These findings prompted further investigation into the presence and nature of such devices as primary evidence in determining the cause and manner of death. Given the circumstances, the initial classification of the manner of death was ruled as undetermined pending comprehensive forensic analysis to ascertain if these devices were causative factors or merely present at the scene. Chapter: Forensic Investigation. At the fire-damaged residence, investigators meticulously documented the collection of physical evidence. Notably, fragments consistent with an incendiary device were discovered near the point of origin. These components included remnants of a metal casing and traces of explosive residue, indicating an intentional ignition source. Additionally, charred clothing from the deceased exhibited signs of rapid combustion characteristic of such devices. Forensic teams meticulously bagged and tagged each item to maintain chain of custody. Absent was any evidence suggesting accelerants other than those from the device itself, ruling out alternative theories involving liquid fuels or gases. The presence of an intact electronic ignition system within the debris provided insight into the mechanism's sophistication. Notably, no external tampering marks on entry points were found, supporting a scenario of internal device initiation. In the laboratory analysis of the deceased, a comprehensive suite of tests was conducted to determine the presence and type of incendiary materials involved in their death. Gas chromatography mass spectrometry, GCMS, identified residues consistent with accelerants such as gasoline, confirming that an incendiary device had been utilized at the scene. Thin layer chromatography, TLC, further confirmed these findings by revealing distinct patterns of organic compounds characteristic of various fuel types. Histological examination of tissue samples from the deceased revealed thermal injury patterns indicative of rapid and intense heat exposure, corroborating the presence of an explosive flame front. Microscopic analysis detected traces of particulate matter consistent with igniter materials used in incendiary devices. The detection thresholds for these analyses were set to identify concentrations as low as 0.1 parts per million ppm for accelerants and 0.05 ppm for igniter residues, ensuring thorough evaluation of the samples. Analysis of recovered incendiary devices and associated burn patterns provided critical temporal context for the incident. Residue analysis and fragmentation patterns indicated a series of timed detonations consistent with an accelerant-based fire attack. Microscopic examination revealed specific explosive signatures on debris, correlating these findings with similar evidence found at the scene's primary ignition points. Postmortem interval estimation was informed by body decomposition rates and thermal alteration of surrounding materials. This approach yielded an estimated time frame within a 6-hour window, corroborated by witness statements and digital timestamps from security footage. The timeline confirmed that incendiary devices were deployed sequentially to maximize combustible material exposure, leading to the rapid spread of fire. It also contradicted initial hypotheses suggesting accidental ignition due to faulty electrical wiring or spontaneous combustion, instead confirming deliberate arson as the cause of death. The examination of debris and residue at the scene revealed the presence of multiple incendiary devices, each containing accelerant materials consistent with gasoline and kerosene. The distribution pattern indicated a deliberate ignition sequence designed to maximize destruction over time. Microscopic analysis confirmed the presence of remnants unique to explosive ignition components within the vicinity of primary damage points. These findings substantiate the hypothesis that an intentional act was responsible for the fire, rather than accidental causes such as spontaneous combustion or electrical malfunctions. Expert opinion based on this evidence would conclude with a high degree of certainty that an incendiary device was utilized in this incident, aligning with forensic protocols and standard investigative procedures. The expert would testify to these findings under oath, emphasizing the specificity of material residues and their association with explosive devices rather than common household items. This evidence is conclusive regarding the mechanism of ignition, but interpretive concerning the identity or motive of the individual responsible for placing the device at the scene. Chapter Resolution. The investigation concluded that the deceased's death resulted from exposure to an incendiary device. Initial assessments had focused on natural causes due to the absence of clear external signs indicative of arson, such as accelerant residue or suspicious burn patterns. However, upon a thorough examination of the debris field and documentation from eyewitnesses who reported hearing a detonation prior to the fire's ignition, forensic teams re-evaluated their findings. Microscopic analysis revealed remnants of an incendiary device within the ashes, corroborating accounts that an explosive mechanism was used to ignite flammable materials. Chemical tests confirmed the presence of thermite and other pyrotechnic compounds consistent with a manufactured explosive. This evidence shifted the investigation's direction from natural causes to a criminal act. Autopsy findings showed thermal injuries indicative of rapid combustion, further supporting the hypothesis of an incendiary device initiating the fire rather than traditional arson methods. The identification of this central finding was pivotal in redirecting investigative efforts and provided conclusive proof of intentional ignition via an explosive mechanism. This investigation underscores the critical role of meticulous evidence collection and analysis in identifying incendiary devices at a fire scene. Forensic scientists employed spectrographic and microscopic examinations, confirming the presence of specific chemical compounds indicative of incendiary materials. The file remains open,